What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Dubai. This is season 2, episode 3. I know I'm not on camera. I'm just not in the mood, to be honest. But let's get into this review. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I want to talk to you guys about a few tweets that I saw from Lisa Milan and Caro-line Brooks, as well as talk about Caroline Stanbury being on Watch What Happens Live on Tuesday night with Jeff Lewis. So let's get into that. Let's talk about Watch What Happens Live first. I thought Caroline Stanbury looked really good. She looked a lot more youthful in the face. Whoever did her facelift, they did a great job. It shaved off at least a good 6 or 7 years on that lady. Like her face just looks way more moisturized. There were 3 things that stood out to me in this Watch What Happens Live that she did. One, she doesn't feel bad about disinviting Caro-line Brooks to her eviction party by Michael. Michael and Sergio were actually in the audience, and Michael was giving the head nod like that was the right answer. So it looks like Michael don't see it for Brooks anymore as well. She was asked a question about how her and Ayan became friends, and what it turns out is that Stansbury and Ayan met up after the reunion, season 1 reunion, and they didn't tell anybody. They met up at some bar in New York, and Ayan didn't tell Lisa, Stansbury didn't tell Brooks, Nina, or Sarah, and they sat down at the bar, and she said they spoke to each other for a good few hours, and they realized that they actually liked each other. But I do find it interesting that they felt the need not to tell everybody. I guess they really felt like it was outside influences really pulling them apart from each other or hindering them from getting to know each other. But I was like, oh wow, so y'all actually did meet up outside of the show to really get to know each other. And then the last thing, and I'm gonna play the clip for you guys, they played this game called Hypnosis, a play on the hypnotherapy that Caroline Stanbury got in this episode. And pretty much Andy asked Caro-line, he said one name, one castmate's name, and then she was supposed to say something as in what did they need to work on. So let me play that for you.
Through your group of friends, for each one, tell us what you would suggest they work on if you could hypnotize them, starting with Lisa Milan.
Jealousy.
Okay, and she is jealous of what? Your friendship with Ayan? She's just jealous of you.
Just jealous of me.
Okay.
In every which way, the obsession is real.
Okay, now let's go to Talene.
Oh, we could just dial the noise down a little bit.
Okay, let's go to Sarah.
Needs to stop healing the world. Maybe work on herself.
Oh boy. Okay, next up is Brooks.
To be less mean.
Okay. Next up is your new bestie, Ayan.
Nothing.
Wow. Thank you very much.
So that was Stansbury. I guess that's how she feels now about the women. I wonder, will it change by the time we get to the reunion? I agree with her with Brooks's, she needs to be less mean. And I also agree with her with Sarah's about Sarah want to heal everybody, but she can't heal herself. And I guess Talene must be very loud. She was being nice to Ayan because there's things Ayan needs to work on. I kind of laughed at the whole Lisa being obsessed part, because I do feel to a certain extent they're both kind of obsessed with each other. But like I told y'all in my last spicy corner, Lisa hasn't really been doing herself any favors when it comes to the way she speaks about Stansbury and Ayan's relationship in her interviews. She called the lady a pigeon and she was an eagle. She also said the girl was gold plated and she's actual authentic gold. So it's you've been digging at her. So I do find it interesting that the fans of Lisa were mad by Caro-line saying that the girl is obsessed, but y'all are okay with her calling the lady a pigeon and gold plated. Well, Brooks had something to say about the Watch What Happens Live as well, where she said this. Okay, so let me get this straight. I'm the bone carrier. I'm the lush. I'm the workaholic. I'm the common denominator. I'm the mouthy American. And according to Jeff Lewis, I need AA. Did I miss anything? That was so exhausting. Somebody pour me champagne. Hashtag RHO Dubai. At least she's taking it in stride and she's not sending out angry tweets. So let's talk about a few of these tweets. So I'm going to talk about an old tweet. This was posted on June the 12th after episode 2. But Caro-line was responding to one person who said this. Did something happen between the Caro-lines off camera that we don't know about? Because there's no way Caro-line B is this mad about the Talene and Caro-line C situation. Hashtag RHO Dubai. So Caro-line responded and she said, you are absolutely right. A lot more happened off camera and a lot more happened on camera. It's a shame you guys don't have the context, but I can show you all the receipts and walk you through the chain of events so you can understand everything. I'm happy to. Hashtag RHO Dubai. I kind of feel like there might not be nothing that really happened off camera, but I also feel like there might be something that did. You just never know when it comes to these types of shows. Also, somebody made this post where they were like, Caro-line made this other post where there might be like a parody account online because, you know, she's not verified, allowing hate speech for her cast members. But they brought up Twitter Spaces, and honestly, y'all, I've been in Twitter Spaces with Caro-line Brooks here recently, and it's not even hate speech. It's just people throwing shade and talking about the show, and she'll laugh at a few things. She might add a few things, but nobody's doing any hate speech. Just because they're not speaking like positively about your fave, it's not hate speech, bro. Y'all are sensitive. So the next tweet I want to talk about is somebody said this to Lisa, and Lisa quote tweeted. She says, I wish Lisa and Brooks were better friends. Hashtag RHO Dubai. And so Lisa quoted this person and said, we're cool, but I still have my one eye open at Brooks_Dubai, which is Brooks's handle. So Brooks responded by saying, as long as I don't drink, you're completely safe with me. Heart, ha ha ha. So again, Brooks is taking all of the ridicule that's being thrown her way in stride. So the last tweet we're going to talk about is where Brooks is basically questioning whether or not the see you next Tuesday word is a bad thing. Brooks said this. She said, is cunt so bad? I'm a little cunty sometimes. Hashtag RHO Dubai. And then somebody responded to her saying, I was raised to think it is one of the top worst things you can call a woman. I still do. More recently, though, people have been using it as a compliment in a way, like you said, she's a little auntie, but it's not an insult. IDK take that as you will, but I think it is an insult. And then Brooks responded by saying, I meant it in an insulting way, to be honest, but I didn't find the word that harsh. In all honesty, I never saw that word being called to see you next Tuesday that bad. Like, we used to throw it out all the time in high school and nobody was ever offended. More people were offended by the B word than the C word at my high school. But like, I never thought the word was that bad. And I guess it's all in the way that you use it. But if someone doesn't want to be called that, then you should respect their boundaries. All right, y'all. So please bear with me. I've been struggling to do this review. I don't know, like, this week has just been one of those weeks where everything just feels like off kiltered, like uneven for me. That's why I'm not on camera. So I'm trying to give you energy. Okay. I'm gonna try my best to give energy. All right. But let's talk about Lisa first. So we have this really nice scene of her and her mom going into the fabric district of Dubai. And I thought it was cool to see the transition from old Dubai to new Dubai. Both, like, old Dubai has beautiful architecture, just like new Dubai. But it was just cool. You can tell that the sellers in the old part of Dubai assumed that Lisa and her mom were just tourists because they were racking up the prices. The guy called her Nicki Minaj. And they kind of, I don't know, for me, Lisa kind of looks like Nicki, mainly with like the nose, but I think it's just more so like Caribbean girls sometimes look the same, but I know that Lisa is Jamaican and Nicki is Trinidadian, but you know, everybody went to everybody's island, to be honest. You know, we was all passed around, but they go to this one place and we actually see Lisa like haggle and bargain and all of that stuff, and they knock down the price to 40. And then we get this scene of them sitting down at like this waterfront restaurant. The food looked good. That's one thing about Dubai. That food does, they eat. Okay, I appreciate it. And so pretty much they're talking, and we get more backstory about Lisa and her mom and the dad. So we end up finding out that the dad had a secret family in Canada. So I guess originally Lisa was living in Jamaica, and then when the mom found out about it, she moved her, and I think she has siblings because Lisa said us, to Jamaica. So the mom packed her kids up and said, we're going to Miami. So they moved to Miami, and Lisa said for the longest time she thought her dad just abandoned them, and coming to find out that that's not what happened. And she was like, she didn't get in contact with her dad till like years later, and she said that's kind of like why she is the way she is. So I guess she doesn't blame her dad too much for like them leaving, but she also has compassion for her mom because she talks about how she knew her mom stayed in that relationship a lot longer because she didn't have like a formal education or the money. So she feels like now is the time for her to like be taking care of her mom. And her mom made it pretty evident that she didn't want to be like a burden or just solely depend on her daughter. And that's for a lot of parents, especially parents that are like independent, and you know they were like the breadwinners of the house, and they took a lot of pride in taking care of their children on their own, or on their families on their own. It is very hard for them to allow their kids to do things for them. But the mom basically says she'll think about, coming to stay in Dubai. At first, she tried to fake cry because I said, Miss Juliet, I ain't see no tears come out your eyes. But I understood her frustrations because they told her that they were only going to be staying in Dubai for like maybe 2 years, and now it's going on 10. And then Lisa ends up saying that they don't plan on leaving Dubai for the next 5 years. Honestly, I don't see them leaving Dubai anytime soon unless her husband gets he moves with the company that he works for, or the company that he works for moves to a different country. I really don't see them moving because Lisa pretty much can live anywhere and run her fashion business. Like, that's the best thing about her creating her own. So I don't think they leave in Dubai, and that's why they trying to get the mama over to Dubai. And plus, she misses her grandkids. Like, the grandkids are getting older, and the mom recognizes that. So I think she does want to be a part of their lives, especially since last episode where they put emphasis in the Jamaican culture that it's like your grandma is like the one that really raises the kids. Like, she plays a pivotal role in their life. And so Lisa and the mom want that for the boys. We also find out that she loved her some Ayan. I wonder how she feels now that Ayan and Lisa are not cool anymore. Because I know she don't play about Lisa. So I would love to be a fly on the wall because I know she'd probably be going off. So y'all, let's talk about Sarah. Y'all know Sarah irritates me. She irritates me. And one thing about Sarah that I get irritated by is how she overly shares with her son about her dating life. Like, so we get this scene of Sarah at the hair salon getting her hair done before she goes on her double date with Talene and her husband. And I think the man is like Daniel or Michael. So I'm going to call him Michael Daniel or Daniel Michael. But y'all know who I'm talking about. And so basically, low-key, he kind of looked like Michael Darby, like a younger version of Michael Darby. Tragic with a beard. Tragic. So pretty much she's at the hair salon and she tells the hairdresser like, oh, help me get right. And mind you, when she did that, he could hear her and she was trying to play it off like, but we know she did it on purpose. The little boy copped an attitude and she was like, what's the attitude for? And he's like, the men have hurt you. And she was like, yeah, I know, but that's because I was choosing bad, but I'm healed now. I'm ready to like find, a husband for me and a daddy for you. And then she was like, do you think all men are bad? And he was like, probably. And to me, to have that view makes me feel like he has probably seen some pretty horrible things done to his mom to have that view. Now, mind you, I don't think all men are trash, but majority of them are. Okay, majority of them are, all right? But for him to have that view at 7, it says a lot of what he's seen. On top of that, you can tell that Sarah has fostered a good environment where he feels comfortable sharing how he feels, because he spoke very clearly and like stated his issues with why he wasn't comfortable with his mom dating. And I don't know, I just feel like Sarah be oversharing with him. Also, I'm looking at Sarah sideways, because why did you marry somebody that didn't like your son? Because she was like, my second marriage, that the guy didn't like my son. He wasn't interacting with him. I know that behavior just didn't start when y'all got married. So why did you marry somebody that didn't like your son? That says a lot more about you than the man that you got married to, ma'am. So I'm like, okay, Sarah, okay. I just feel like she just overshares, and he's 7 years old and he doesn't need to know about your dating life. Like, there should be a boundary there. Until you actually get serious with someone, he shouldn't know all of that, in my opinion. Like, for real, I feel like unless you have been dating someone for to me, if I was a single parent, and I'm not one, but if I was one, I feel like I wouldn't let my child know if I was in a serious relationship with somebody until we had been together for at least like a good 8 months. Like, I'd be like, oh, and then even with us being together for 8 months, they probably would never meet them in person until I could be for sure that I'm meeting you and not your representative. So we see Sarah go on the date. We see Talene and her husband. They're sitting in their car driving towards the restaurant, and they're super excited for the date to happen. Mind you, Sarah's outfit gave I don't want to be here. She got on all black, and it gave very much I'm going to go meet and get drinks with the girls. Like, she was not going on. That is not a date outfit. That is not a date outfit. And I think I told y'all in my last review that Sarah at the party was given that she wasn't attracted to that man. And I don't get how Talene can't pick up those vibes either. So we see Talene and her husband get to the restaurant first. We then see Sarah pull up, and Sarah basically is like, okay, I'm here. And Talene asks Sarah, like, okay, girl, well, what seems to be the issue, or what do you think is the issue with why you haven't been able to find anybody yet? And so Sarah says, she attracts narcissists. And then they get on this whole thing about their zodiac signs. We find out that Talene's a Libra, and then her husband's a Gemini. And so Sarah basically says that she likes Libra women, but she doesn't really get along with Libra men. So Michael Daniel pulls up, and you can already tell in Sarah's body language that she's not really into him. And I feel like I don't get how he can't pick up that she not really into him. So Sarah basically, they're talking. We find out that he can speak a little bit of Amarati, but it's not good. He basically is like me with Duolingo. Okay, I'm trying to learn Spanish. I could give you a little phrases como se llama, estoy ocupado, divertida, I think it's divertida la semana. That's all I can probably give you right about now. I can pick out words, but I'm not really that good at it. So she's like, yeah, his Amarati is not good. So they then get starting on the topic of aliens. She was like, because I guess it was oh, what are you into? And she was like, what about, do you think aliens exist? And he's like, oh, I think so. And she was like, you think? And she was like, we could talk, I can talk about that stuff all the time. And Talene was trying to make it seem like that was like a red flag, but I don't think that's a red flag to me. As somebody who reads a lot of anime and manga, and the stuff that I like to read is about ghosts and spirits and fantasy and demons and all of that stuff, someone being open-minded to think of oh, we're not the only ones in the universe, they could be out there. I remember a phrase that I saw that's kind of stuck with me, where someone was like, aliens probably don't exist in space, or if they do exist in space, they're too far away for us to get in contact with, or they think Earth is ghetto, which it really is. But they said, you know what, maybe the aliens live in the ocean because we've only discovered 5% of the ocean, and the other 95%, like, we're still working on trying to figure out what's out there. Like, every other day they're finding new species of animals in the ocean, as well as we can't go past a certain depth in the ocean or you'll be crushed by the gravity or the pressure of the ocean. So it's just like, you want somebody who you can have like philosophical and interesting conversations with. So I don't think that's like a red flag on Sarah's part. So we also find out that Michael Daniel ain't ever dated anybody that has kids. So Sarah's like, yeah, And then he's a Libra man. And she just said that she don't get along with Libra men. So she was like, yeah, I'm good on you, sir. I'm good on you, sir. She also was like, so Michael Daniel ends up getting up and going to the bathroom, and Talene and her husband are like, so how you feeling him? And she's like, we'll probably be good friends, but that's not my man. And Talene said, well, I guess it's over. But I feel like you could clearly tell that Sarah was not into that man. Like, she, even with the way she shook his hand at the party, and then when she was in that circle with Ayan, Sergio, and Stansberry, she was not impressed with him. He should have read the room that lady didn't like him like that. So let's talk about Stansberry. So the episode actually opened up with Caro-line, Stansberry, and Sergio at Michael's house. Y'all know Michael is Caro-line's best friend. He's been allowing them to stay at his house for the past 3 months. They were only supposed to be there for 2 weeks while their house was being built. Now, Michael is better than me, because one thing that would really like make me itch is the way that they have all those clothes spread out in those 2 rooms. Like, Michael has closets, and I know the closets aren't that big, but y'all would have had to been living out of your suitcase or going down to the market or whatever. I don't know if they got like a Walmart there or a Target or something, or a Home Goods, a TJ Maxx, like a similar store out there in Dubai where they could have picked up like, you know, sometimes you can have like portable closets or something like that, but all of their clothes like spread out everywhere would irritate me, because that's a lot of clutter. So it also seems like they not paying him rent or anything. Like, they've been living there for 3 months for free, because later on in the episode, when they're at the eviction party, Ayan like shadily says in her confessional, I guess Michael just wants to spend his money on Stansberry. So that makes me feel like they have been living like rent free at that man's house. Somebody would have been paying me rent. You've been here for like, you staying with me for like 2 weeks. No, I don't expect you to pay me money, but you staying with me for 3 months, you have used up 3 months worth of water, food, and electricity times 2, because there's 2 adults staying there. Y'all would have had to get out of my house. So we get this scene of Sergio and Stansberry talking about Talene's party. And mainly they're talking about Brooks and her behavior towards Stansberry. And Stansberry is just confused. She's like, I don't know where this energy is coming from her. I also don't understand why she's drinking so much, because she's never really been like that. And Sergio's like, well, maybe she's just overwhelmed and feeling the pressure of her business, and she's just projecting it onto you. And Stansberry's like, that's not my fault. So she need to chill out. And we find out that Ayan and her met up, and Ayan basically told Stansberry about Brooks calling her see you next Tuesday. So she kind of over Brooks right about now. And Sergio, like, because Stansberry ends up saying this thing about like, if that's how I behave when I'm drunk, then I would want to be stone cold sober. So Sergio's like, oh, you gonna stop drinking, honey? And Sergio irritates me. And I think it's because I feel like Sergio is like stunted in a way, like emotionally, because he gives off like 22-year-old energy. And I just Googled how old he is. He's 29 years old. Like, sir, you're about to be 30 and you give the vibe of like a 20-year-old. And it's like, you haven't grown. And I think that's why I get irritated with him sometimes, because him not understanding like the euphemism stone cold sober, and I know it's a cultural thing and it might be a language barrier, but I feel like you can, even if you didn't understand what she meant, you can gauge when somebody's being sarcastic. And it was clear as day that Caro-line was being sarcastic. And I don't know if Sergio is like playing a character or if this really is Sergio. And I think it is Sergio because that 17-year-old daughter was like letting the chopper sing at the eviction party. So there's a knock at the door, and it's this hypnotherapist. We find out that this lady used to be Princess Diana's hypnotherapist. Caro-line has done an interview with her on her podcast. I think it's called Uncut and Uncensored with Caroline Stansberry, and she really enjoyed the lady. Caro-line ended up saying that like she doesn't really like or believe in therapy like that, but she really liked the hypnotherapist, so she wanted to do a session with her. So they go and they sit down on the couch. Mind you, I really think they should have did that in one of the bedrooms, because Sergio being at the top of the stairs ear hustling, like I didn't like that, because I feel like therapy, no matter who you're talking about, even though they were talking about him, should be a very private thing. So it felt like an invasion of privacy when he was listening to them at the top of the steps. So they sit down in the den, and basically she wants to find better ways to communicate with Sergio. And she basically says that she's a control freak. She's always doing things for everybody. We find out that they shipped her off to boarding school when she was 6 years old. So the first grade. I always was under the assumption that Caro-line was like 15 or 14, like going into high school when she got shipped off to boarding school, because normally that's the age that I see people going off to boarding school, you know what I'm saying? Or doing that like semester at sea type stuff. But the fact that they shipped her off when she was 6 years old, no wonder she feels the need to want to like be in control of everything, because that control was taken away from you at a very young age. Like I was so irritated because I really like, even on Ladies of London, when she spoke about going to boarding school, I just assumed she was like at a high school age. Like you shipped your child off at first grade. Do you know how freaking scary that is? Going to school in general, when you're in first grade, is already scary because things are changing. But to be 6 and to be sent to another part of the country, and I don't know anybody, you don't have your friends around that you probably made in your neighborhood, you're not seeing your mom and dad regularly, that would change somebody. And I would be shocked if Caro-line wasn't the way she was. Because they always, even on Ladies of London, they were always saying that she was cold. Of course she's cold. Her family didn't want her, basically. And I don't care if that's the British way. Because of the therapist made mention where she was like, that's the British way. You keep your dogs at home and you ship your kids off. I hope it's different over there, because that's nasty work right there to do to a child. So they lay her down, like she lays down on the couch, and the therapist started doing like the snapping thing to get her to go into like REM sleep. And Caro-line is like 9 years old in her like dream state, and she's like basically like begging her mom to let her come back home at like 9. And her mom's like, no, you got to go. And the therapist wakes her up, and she basically was like chanting like, when I talk about Sergio, I tell myself not to mother him, because that's the issue, is that she's always mothering Sergio. And the therapist was like, eventually it's going to turn into resentment. You're going to resent him for always having to tell him what to do, and he's going to resent you for always feeling like you have to tell him what to do. So you have to find better ways of allowing him to just be, and you being okay with that. So while the therapist is talking about that, you have Sergio at the top of the stairs talking about, that's impossible. Like he does not like what the therapist is saying, because the therapist is like, eventually he's going to view you as his mother. And like Caro-line is, I don't want that. And so the therapist leaves. Sergio comes downstairs and he's like, what were y'all talking about? And she was like, well, the way that I mother you. And he was like, you don't mother me. And she was like, Sergio, yes, I do mother you. And he was like, no, you don't. He was like, that's what we're supposed to do in relationships. And she's like, no, we're not, sir. And so then he cops an attitude at the fact that she's like trying to be like, yes, like I do mother you. He's like, no, you don't. And he gets really frustrated. And he's like, I don't know what you want. Like, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, because like, I want to be with you all the time. You don't want to be with me. It was off-putting, because I'm just like, Sergio, that what the therapist said, the hypnotherapist said, was actually spot on. Caro-line does mother you. And I feel like Sergio does not understand. That might be the main reason why Caro-line doesn't want to have kids with him, or why she's so hesitant. Age may play a thing because, her daughter's about to go to college, and then they still have her son, and, she's about to be 50 in a few years. But also, she is probably thinking about how overwhelming and taxing it would be to have Sergio, who is clingy as hell, and then an actual baby who needs to be clingy, that needs to be fed, washed, and clothed. Like, you don't give that you are that responsible to be able to do all of that, because you always want to be around her. It's exhausting. So the next scene we have is of Brooks, Talene, and Lisa meeting up. And pretty much they are talking about Talene's party. Lisa got asked in the confessional, like, do you feel bad about missing the party? Do you feel left out? And she was like, no, because Ayan told me there was no decor at the party. I told y'all that like Talene, the way Talene was trying to hype her husband up, it's not giving that, because all they had was them white tablecloths on them tables and them Dollar Tree candles. Okay, girl, it's not giving what you think it was supposed to give. And so they're talking about the party. Talene tells Brooks, you called her a see you next Tuesday. And Brooks is like, what? I don't remember calling her that. And Talene was like, I don't know if she really did call her that. But then they rolled the tape back and yeah, she called her that. So then Lisa is like, are you mad that she's cool with me and Ayan now? And Brooks is like, no, she could be friends with whoever she wants to be with. And then Lisa in her confessional is like, it's all cap. Brooks is upset that me and Ayan are cool now with Stansberry. Like, that she can't have Stansberry all to herself. And so we then see another confessional with Brooks being like, no, girl, that's you. You the one that got the issue with Stansberry and Ayan being friends. We know you got a voodoo doll of Stansberry, and you've been poking it in the eyes, and it's buried out back because Stansberry has been complaining about her eyes hurting. But honestly, I think two things can be true. I think that Lisa is not happy that Ayan and Stansberry are friends, based off of the way she was riding for Ayan, on top of the situation that she had with Stansberry. And I think Brooks also feels the same way, because we later on find out in their sit down that she stopped being friends, or kind of distanced herself from Lisa and Ayan, because Stansberry would be calling her upset and like crying and pissed off about how nasty and mean she felt Ayan was being to her. So she's just kind of like, they both, to me, did too much. Like, you never take on anybody else's beef unless it's some real gutter stuff that was done to your friend. So Michael's eviction party. What I will say is, I didn't understand the decor. I did not understand why they had disco balls, because I was like, how did disco balls mean eviction? But okay. Okay. So, we see Sarah and her friend Seba show up. Now, Seba is supposed to be the new friend of, and I guess she is Sarah's friend, because when I saw her, I was like, oh, her face kind of looks familiar. And then I went and Googled like the cast lineup, and I was like, oh, this is the new girl. So I was like, okay, so she's Sarah's friend. Honestly, the way that Sarah was describing her, it gave, girl, you might be in love with your best friend. That might be why you ain't found nobody, sis. You might be bisexual, Sarah. You might be. So she was really excited for everyone to meet Seba. She was talking about how, like, that's her business partner. She's cool. She's smart. She's all of these things. She's Pakistani. She also said that her nickname is like Seba the Saboteur. And I said, that is not a positive nickname. So I don't know if Sarah was meaning that in a positive way, like she disrupts the patriarchy, or if that girl be sabotaging people in real life. It was confusing to me. So they're walking around the party, greeting and talking to everyone. We then see Sergio. Sarah hugs Sergio, and the next thing you know, she's like, "What's wrong? I can tell something's wrong with you. He's like my brother." And Sergio's like, "No, I'm good." He ends up sitting down with the girls for the time, and then they're like, even the other women notice, like, "Hey, like, what's wrong? Like, you kind of seem like your energy is off." And Sergio was like, no, I'm just tired. I'm just overwhelmed, like, with everything, just kind of just tired. And Sarah's like, no, let's talk. So she pulls him away from Seba and this other lady that they were sitting with, and they go to like one of these tables, and she's like, what's wrong, Sergio? And Sarah ends up saying that her and Sergio are like brother and sister ever since, she's met him. They just been able to like vibe and all of that stuff. And basically, Sergio feels some type of way about the therapy session. He was like, the therapist said that I mothered her, because Sarah was like, who said that? He was like, the therapist. And he was like, I was trying to tell her, like, no, she doesn't. And it's just like, she just don't be hearing me. And he is about to like cry. Like you heard the crack in his voice. And I said, Sergio, sir, if you don't stand up right now, like that girl said, stand up, like Sergio, like I got so irritated with her. And mind you, I am not one of those type of women that is like, men can't show emotions. I am not like that. But it's just like Sergio is irritating me, because I'm like, are you sad because that lady clocked the fact that like that is the type of relationship y'all are in, and now you're seeing Caro-line doesn't want that anymore? Or are you genuinely like not seeing the unhealthiness of y'all's relationship right now? So Sarah ends up saying in her confessional, like, when I first met Sergio and Stanberry, when they were together, they were always attached at the hip. And then after they got married, she was like, things have kind of changed. It seems like she's like pulling away from him. And I'm like, Sarah, know your place, girl. First of all, you can't even get your own dating life together. I don't need you talking about somebody else's situation. Okay? So while they're having this conversation, Ayan pulls up. Now she picks up one of the disco balls, and she's like, oh my gosh, is the theme, based off of me? Because she has on like this very reflective dress similar to a disco ball. And she walks into the party. Everyone's like, oh my God, Ayan is here. You see Michael go over there and hug her. And then you see Seba like sitting where Sergio and Sarah and her were. And her, like when I tell you, she is making all types of faces. Like she has never seen someone in a reflective outfit. And then you see Sarah and Sergio on the other side of the pool, where Sarah's like, look at Seba's face, Sergio, because Seba is like so taken aback by Ayan. And I'm confused, because I was like, the outfit wasn't even like all of that. It gave very much like New Year's Eve kind of outfit. What I will say is I did not like her makeup, and I didn't like that wig. Like the wig was giving Sunday, church service vibes. I feel like she needed like either a bust down, or if she was gonna wear that outfit, the curls needed to be bigger, a lot bigger. So we see Ayan and Michael talking, and this is what I was talking about Ayan pretty much letting it be known that Michael been footing the bill for them, because he's like, I'm just ready for them to go. Like it's always up and down with them. Like they just need their own space. And Ayan is like, I know he tired of paying for them pretty much, because he like, does he just want to spend all his money on them? So we then see Sarah talk to Seba about Ayan, and she was like, she do a lot. Pretty much Seba is like, Ayan do a lot, and she's not my type of person. And Sarah was like, well, we allow her to be herself, and that's just her. And I'm like, y'all know Ayan kind of irritates me at times. But I'm looking at Seba like, first of all, sis, you just got here. Second of all, you making it known that she's not your type of person. What if you not her type of person? Okay, check yourself, girl. You are a friend of, not a full-time cast member. So then we see Talene get there. I actually liked her outfit a lot. She ain't got no booty though, because when she was dancing, I said there is no yams back there. So Stansberry finally comes out. She has a nip slip in front of Talene, her husband, and Michael. And Talene is like, karma got her real good, which she kind of did. And so we find out when all the ladies are sitting down that Caro-line uninvited Brooks. Like, she uninvited her right before the party. And Brooks, I think, thought she was going because there's a scene of her getting ready for the party where she was like, oh, I have to get ready for this party. And then she gets the phone call that, like, no, you're not invited. So she was like, I need to take a moment. Because they flash over to her house. She was like, I need to take a moment. I need to, like, woo-saw for a minute. She says she wasn't affected by not being a part of the evicted party, but I do think she was kind of hurt by it. But I'm like, you can't be a dick to somebody and then expect them to, like, invite you to things for them. That's supposed to be like a celebration. So Ayana's like, oh my God, why did you do that? And then even Sarah kind of had a face like, why? Like, she was drunk. Like, it's not that deep. But to Seba's credit and to Stansberry credit, like she said, if someone was abusing you all the time because they were drunk, I'm supposed to just accept it. And she's not. She doesn't have to accept it. Talene is like, who just disinvites somebody? Like, that's like, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, you have every right to disinvite somebody that you invited to something. We then see Lisa pull up. They tell Lisa about Brooks being uninvited. Lisa basically stirs the pot and basically says, I tried to get her to take accountability for her behavior, but she didn't want to. And you know, she's a common denominator of all the drama and everything. And pretty much Talene and Sarah are like, maybe you just need to sit down and have a conversation with Brooks. And Ayana's like, girl, now that you haven't invited her, she gonna be a whole different breed. She about to go to the pits of hell with you. And Stansberry is like, baby, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. So the party continues. We then get this really like awkward moment between Yasmin, Michael, Sergio, and this really cute guy that I think is like Sergio's friend, who they were like talking about like they were roasting Sergio while they were standing in the circle. And pretty much she was like, ooh, let me get in on this. When I tell you Yasmin does not like Sergio, she basically said that Sergio was clingy, that he follows her mom around like a lost puppy. Then when they brought out the cake was a boot and like kicking them out it with Louis Vuitton luggage around it. And she bit off the heads of Sergio and Stansberry's like cake figures, and then she switched them where Sergio's head was on Caro-line's body and had a dress on, and then, you know, the vice versa. And then Yasmin made a comment where she was like, oh, Sergio, you finally get to wear a dress the way you always wanted to. And you heard Caro-line be like, that's not funny. That's not funny. Like, checking Yasmin. And I was like, oh, she don't like him like that. She tolerates Sergio because she knows Sergio is her mom's like husband now, but she don't really like him because she had a lot to say about him. So they all start dancing, having a good time. Sarah shoves Sergio into the pool, and that's when we got to look at that body, because Sergio has a body, bro. Sergio's body is everything. And then the party ended. So the last scene we get is the Caro-line's meeting up, and it really went nowhere. Brooks didn't apologize for calling Caro-line Stansberry a see you next Tuesday. She was basically like, we've all said pretty mean things to each other and you didn't die, so it ain't that deep. She was 26 minutes late, which Stansberry is better than me because I would have left after 5. She was like, you know, I have my business now and I'm taking care of my son. It's just a lot going on. And Stansberry is like, everybody got something going on. They then talk about like what's really going on with them. And what it seems to me, with me kind of like reading between the lines, is that Brooks has already had issues with Stansberry with the way that she moves, and instead of speaking up about it, she allowed that stuff to fester. And then when the Talene thing happened, it was kind of like the cherry on top, and she was just like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this person. But because she didn't speak up, she looks crazy lashing out right now. She also is like loyalty, and I think what's really bothering her, like Lisa called it, is that Stansberry is now friends with Lisa and Ayan, and Brooks basically said, I stopped being cool with them for you because you were telling me that Ayan was like hurting your feelings and doing all this stuff, and when I asked for that in return, I don't get it. So to me, Lisa and Brooks are pretty much feeling the same way. Like, they stood up for a friend, they went above and beyond, and they went too far, and now they're kind of getting the short end of the stick because Stansberry and Ayan want to be friends now and are friends now. So the conversation didn't really go anywhere, but I am interested to see next episode because it looks like Lisa and Talene get into it, and I wonder like what the beef is. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in them comments below and share your thoughts with me. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.